So, it's the weekend between Black Friday and Cyber Monday, and I've got some cyber stuff on my mind, so I need to talk. Cyber, AI, the robotic future, specifically the supposed robotic future of Tesla vehicles, including the one I'm driving in right now. Now, I've been driving this Tesla for since April of this year, so we're going on 8 months, I guess. Um, and on and off, I have had free trials of full self-driving made available to me, and I've been trying. In that time period, I've had versions 12.3 through 12.5. And while it's been very fun to be part of the experiment, I think I'm done experimenting with it, at least for a while, and possibly for always. It's very impressive the way it can drive most of the time when things are normal and there aren't any mitigating circumstances. But there are so many mitigating circumstances where full self-driving just throws up its hands or does something dangerous. I'm trying to come up with a comprehensive list of all of the bullet points for things it fails at, but there's just so many. I want to bring it down into broad categories. It's the mitigations, the times. Let's just start with the environments in which it will not work. If it's foggy, it won't work. If it's rainy, it won't work. If it's too dark, it won't work. And if the sun is shining in its face, it won't work. These are all circumstances in which a human, especially one who's familiar with the area he's driving in, can continue to drive. Maybe at a reduced speed, it's a safe speed. But full self-driving just throws up its hands and gives up in all those circumstances. So it's already self-limited to essentially perfect driving conditions. And even in those circumstances, at least the way it is now, certainly on hardware 3, and I understand that hardware 3 is never going to be able to do unsupervised full self-driving. Tesla has finally admitted that too, but I think most of us always knew that. But even with that, given the promises that they've made for the software, it does a lot of really dumb things. It insists on staying in the center lane, even when it knows it has to come to get off at an exit less than 2 miles ahead. It stays in the center lane until half a mile from the exit. And that's dumb. Even when there's going to be obstacles at that point, it won't get behind them or make the decision to get behind them till it's too late, as shown in the brief video I did post a little while back. Its decision making is too slow, is another big factor. That can be fixed with processing and software improvements, but it doesn't matter because there's still some really, really large things that full self-driving just cannot do. It can't go backwards, for example. This is something a car has to do, either normally because of where it's parked, or in an emergency to get out of a situation. And emergency avoidance is something that a human, I think, is always going to do better than full self-driving, because its only reaction to danger is to stop. That's all it knows how to do. Oh, things are bad, stop, disengage. Well, sometimes that's exactly the thing that gets you killed. And what needed to happen is that you needed to swerve and accelerate into a ditch. That is a circumstance that may be required, a situation that may be required in certain situations for you to do to survive. Full self-driving is never going to do that, ever. It's always going to be defensive. It's never going to take accelerating action to avoid something that a human would. Taking that risk-reward calculation or lesser of two evils calculation into mind in the split of the second, when we know either I'm going to get impacted by a car or I can swerve even into a place where the car's not supposed to be, and that would be preferable to letting myself get hit. With all these things piled up on top of each other, the environmental situations where it won't work at all, the inability for it to see or go backwards, the inability for it to react properly to emergency situations, I don't believe these cars are ever going to drive themselves. And perhaps the biggest thing is that these systems, I'm speaking specifically of Tesla's, but I'm sure it's true of the other ones as well, they aren't a mind. They aren't a learning system in and of themselves. Every instance of road travel, even if you've been on that route 600 times, as far as full self-driving is concerned, it's the first time it's seen this bit of road. It doesn't have a memory, it can't remember, and it can't learn from previous experiences on a given stretch of road the things to expect and how to behave. It's a newborn baby every minute of every day. And it's always going to be that. So whatever its boot up training is, that's all it's going to have. You can drive 60,000 miles and you're the invisible teenager trying to drive your car hasn't learned a thing about any place it's been or any instruction it's been given on how to act in any one place. So it's very limited to what it can do in the moment, having never experienced this particular situation and place before. And I don't see how that ever works for general self-driving. Okay, so what can we expect from these systems? Well, I just like them to be really, really good advanced driver assistance systems. There's no reason this car can't get me from an exit to another exit completely safely, more safely even than I could do it myself on a highway. Let's do that. And save all this in-city driving stuff and dealing with traffic and big situations to a human who's there anyway. The point of transportation is to get a human from one place to another. And if you've got a human there, you've got the best driving resource you're ever going to have. So just use one of those. That's my rant. That's my story for today. What's been on my mind. And now I'm going to turn off full self-driving and just ignore the temptation to use it again until some major breakthrough or change occurs.